So in this video, I'm going to show you the Spotlight series. So it's a strategy that gets you in front of physicians where they feel lucky to have your attention, not the other way around. So we're going to turn your clinic into the local media company doctors want to be featured on. So instead of the PT who's constantly begging for 5 minutes of their time in a hallway. If we haven't met yet, I'm Dr. Robbie Wolkers. I'm a physical therapist, co-owner here at Rehab CEOs. I scaled my 3 clinics in under 18 months, and I sold my 50% shares back to my partner in 2021. Now, at that time, I was under a 5-year non-compete, so I decided to create an 8-figure agency helping PTs grow and scale. And during that time, I have watched owners burn out on lunches and cookie drops, and I've watched clinics flip the script, build a simple media machine, and have doctors asking to get on their calendar. So here's what we're going to cover in this video. So number 1 is why lunches and cookies just don't work the way that you think. Number 2 is we are going to walk you guys through what physicians actually value. Specifically, what do they value enough to give you more of their time? Number 3 is how to use the Spotlight series to give them that value. And number 4 is the pre-interview research that makes you look like a pro. And number 5 is going to be the 7-day plan to launch your first Spotlight series. And at the end, if you want help wiring this whole thing up and make sure that you have a real physician referral system, I'll invite you to our live physician referral workshop. Now let's go ahead and look at what PTs do and what docs experience here. So the first thing that I want you guys to be aware of over on the left-hand side is this is what PTs are going to typically do, is they're going to show up and they're going to show up unannounced. So that's the first issue. Number 2 is when they do show up, they're usually going to have some kind of lunch or they're going to have some cookies. Usually something cheap like cookies. And then unless they're asked to bring a lunch, right? Then they're going to be like, hey, so could I have like 5 minutes with the doctor's time? Right? So they're going to be like, yeah, you could have 5 minutes with the doctor, sure. And you're going to wait 2 hours for that 5 minutes. You're going to hand them a brochure, right? So you're going to hand them something. And then ultimately what the doctor is going to experience here is their clinic is slammed, right? They are busy, right? They were not expecting you. So here's another vendor showing up to get 5 minutes with them. So there's no clear upside, right? There's no clear upside at all, right? It's like they don't want to see you. You don't want to be there. It's the whole thing, right? So if anything, their time and their focus is drained because they don't want to come out and meet you. It is crazy. So I want you to think about what you do when someone walks into your clinic, right? Specifically when someone walks into your clinic like unannounced, asking to talk to you, right? You're going to duck in your office. You're going to tell your staff to like, tell them I'm not here, right? You're going to turn into a ghost. And that's exactly what's happening on the other side of this thing, right? Because they are slammed. Remember, they are super busy. They just had a full day, right? Every rep on earth is bringing them food and a pitch, right? And from their perspective, that meeting costs, right, the time that they don't have, focus during clinical hours, right? Their reputation is at risk if they send to the wrong place. And they get like, another clinic asking for referrals and giving them no new patients, right? No new authority, no new attention. So the gatekeeper does their job, right? So there's going to be like this person here, like there's you walking in, woohoo. And then there's going to be this person here that's got like their arms folded and they're like, ah. And then like the doctor's over here with their nice little fancy coat on. And it's just like, you can't get to them. You can't pass the gatekeeper here. Like that is their absolute job, is to keep you out. So these physicians are asking one question and one question only. What's in it for me? WIIFM, which is their favorite radio station. Because if I give you 20 to 30 minutes, right? Like, what am I going to get out of it? Right? So that's all they are concerned about because they want to make sure that their time is tied to something that matters to them, right? So number 1 is that they are going to get attention, right? They want to make sure that they have some level of tension here because more people, right, in your community knowing who they are matters to them, right? So something worth their time is attention. Something else worth their time is authority, right? Because obviously doctors have a lot of high authority, so they want to keep that status, right? Being seen as an expert for certain problems matters to them. So first and foremost, they want attention. Second, they want authority. And then third, which a lot of people don't realize because they think they have enough, is they want new patients, specifically if they own their own clinic. So they want new patients, especially the ones they love working with, right? This matters to these guys. And they want to make sure they have attention. They want to have authority. They want to get new patients. And they want to do all these things with low effort, okay? They want this thing to be effortless. If you ever play golf, there's this thing called like the 6-inch putt, right? Where they kind of just like tap it in. So it's just like, how could I get attention? How could I get authority? How could I get new patients with low effort? So if you can't answer what's in it for me in a way that checks those boxes, the default answer, guys, is going to be no. And I'm here to tell you that the coolest part about this is that if you want attention, authority, new patients, and low effort, and have all 4 of those checked, that the Spotlight series that I'm about to teach you hits all 4 of these things, all 4 of them. So now, what is the Spotlight series? Okay, so when we're looking at the Spotlight series, I want you guys to understand this is where you are going to become the media. Because remember, they want attention, they want authority, they want this thing to also produce patients with little to no effort. So the goal here is for your clinic, right? So we're going to have your clinic, and that is going to be the outlet to produce content into the community, right? So your clinic and your Spotlight series, right? So the doctor is over here. They want access to the community, and your Spotlight series is the connection between the two, okay? Because the Spotlight series is going to be a recurring interview, right? It's a recurring interview show or like a podcast of sorts where you're going to feature, right? You're going to feature like MDs, you're going to feature nurse practitioners, PAs, right? Orthos, PCPs, right? We're going to bring on maybe some chiros, right? Whatever. Right? So this is where you are going to be able to bring other high value providers into your ecosystem, right? So what you're going to do is you are going to bring these people on for anywhere between like 40 to 60 or 60 to 90 minutes, depending on how long you guys have together, okay? And you're going to be able to ask smart questions about what they do and who they help. One of my favorite things with this, so when I'm interviewing a doctor or I'm interviewing even another PT practice owner, I get to ask them questions that I'm curious about, right? So say that you're meeting with a practice owner that has like 12 locations, and it's just like, well, I'll probably want to ask that person questions for, what's the logistics around, 4 locations, and how did you go from 4 to 8, and how did you go from 8 to 12, and what are the complexities along the way, right? I could ask them questions that I'm interested in, which, by the way, my audience would probably be interested in as well, right? So that's where, like, when you go back to the Spotlight series here, you guys are going to be able to structure, right? This thing is going to be about like 60 minutes long, right? And then you'll go through and you'll have like an intro. You'll be able to start going through and asking yourself some questions, and then maybe a little call to action at the end for people to find out some more information around the doctor, right? So you're going to ask some smart questions, what they do, who they help, right? Package that content. And we're going to just record this thing on like a Zoom link or wherever. We'll record it. And then we're going to go ahead and get a link. And then we're going to go ahead and put it on YouTube. And then we'll distribute it out to our audience, their audience, social media, whatever that looks like, right? And the goal here is because they are going to get free attention, right? They're going to get authority positioning. So content that they can share with their patients and their followers. And what do you get, right? Well, you're going to get a deeper relationship, right? Specifically, instead of 5 minutes, you now have like 60 to 90 minutes meeting with this person, right? You're going to borrow their authority. Because if a doctor has authority and you're interviewing them, now you have the same authority as they do, right? That's the cool part about when you have your own media channel, is that you are interviewing these high power people, so you must be important, right? So it's going to be a reason to follow up and stay in touch and book future collaborations. And honestly, guys, it's a classic hook structure, right? It's a very clear call out. So if you're a runner with knee pain, right? And I promise, of the value that this, right, that the surgeon's going to bring, I trust this with my own knees, right? That's what's going to be able to keep people watching, right? When it's just like, I'm a runner and I got knee pain and this guy helped me, so he's going to be able to help you, right? So it's those kind of things that are going to be able to set this up in a way that you guys are going to be able to film a nice segment. You'll be able to get the link, and then you're going to distribute it. Remember, you create the content, and then you push it out into the community. Now, once we go ahead and we reach out and we set up this spotlight series, something that I want you guys to be aware of is that we want to make sure that we're doing a pre-interview research. Okay, so we're going to do some pre-interview work, because there's nothing worse than showing up to interview somebody and you know nothing about them. Some of you guys are good and you could wing it, but I want to be able to do a little bit of a pre-interview. I want to do some research. So I'm going to go ahead and test or check out their social media. I might check out their LinkedIn. I might check out their Instagram. I might check out their YouTube. I might go and check out their website. I might see if there's anything online as far as search goes. I might check out their Google reviews. I might check out whatever, right? I might even start reaching out to people who they know. So I might go and get some staff intel, right? I need to be able to figure out what make this person tick, right? And, before you ever hit record, you need to be able to do at least 10 minutes of homework so they, the episode could feel like it's customized to them. I think some of the best podcasters in the world, they do a really good job of doing like pre-research. I remember seeing a podcast with Kevin O'Leary, and the guy who was interviewing him took out a picture with him and his mom, not the guy who was interviewing, but Kevin O'Leary and his mom. He's like, where did you get this? So it's just like, how do we get to the point where we could get some research going to be able to, really, really tap into these things. So that's where we want to check out all of their online presence. Again, we got website, we got Google profile, we have LinkedIn, practice Instagram, personal Instagram. I'm looking for do they, do they specialize in, do they love running? Do they golf, right? Do they specialize in ACLs, pelvic, spine, right? Do they do any talks or research or media appearances, right? I'm looking for hobbies, right? What are their hobbies? What are maybe the sports teams that they like whatever. Did they go on vacation somewhere? And I'm going to then go ahead and ask their staff. I'm nosy, right? I'm going to go ask their staff, because when you're scheduling, it's like, hey, does Dr. Smith love talking about, right? Or any cool projects or anything that they're working on, should I be able to highlight here? Or you'll hear stuff like, oh, she's huge on runners, or, yeah, he's the shoulder guy in town, right? She just did a big osteoporosis talk, or she actually just get invited to do a keynote speaker, right? So now all of a sudden I need to figure out, what is the angle here, right? So what is the angle of this podcast? I need to know, based on that information, I need to be able to decide on where am I trying to take this thing up front, right? Shoulder surgeon for overhead athletes in city? Possibly, right? Or are we going to be interviewing an OBGYN, changing pelvic care for women and blah, 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 right? Maybe, because this is going to become your hook, right? We're going to be able to hook people in, right? And the thumbnail. So we need to make sure that it makes the doctor feel seen and makes the episode about 10x more watchable, right? So what is going to be the hook? The hook is going to be the angle. This is the most important thing, because if we don't have good bait, right? We don't have good bait here on our line, we're not going to be able to catch a fish. So we got to have a really good hook. And who is this for? What's the call out? Well, more specifically, who do we want this to be targeted towards? Now, the more logical question that you have right now is, how do we pitch this thing, right? So how do we actually reach out to people? Once we figure out who do we want to reach out to, how do we pitch this thing? Because ultimately, the pitch is going to start with your audience, right? We want to pitch them on the audience that they're going to be exposed to, right? I'm going to make this super easy for you, right? The ease of doing it, right? We want to make sure that the audience, the ease, and then also what's in it for them, also known as the benefit, right? So that is going to be the key. So as long as you have those three things, you have the audience, you make it easy for them, and then you provide them with the benefits, usually it's an automatic yes. Because remember, this is going to have authority. It's going to have attention. We're going to get them some patience. We're going to make it super low effort. So lead with audience, right? So what does this sound like? It sounds like, hey, Dr. Smith, this is like, I'm Dr. Robert Wilkers from XYZ Clinic. We create educational content for insert their niche, right? Runners, active adults, pelvic patients, whatever that is. I'm in Virginia right now. So Warrenton, Virginia. So I'd love to feature you in our Spotlight series as the go-to ortho doc, OBGYN, pain doc for our community. So you're offering their favorite thing, which is going to be attention in front of the right people. Okay. So that is where we're going to reach out to them. Then we want to make it easy, right? We want to make it super easy. It's just like, hey, it's going to be a brief, depending on how much time you have. We can keep it tight. We can make it 20, 30 minutes. We could have it closer to like 30, 40 minutes, or if you want to go for a whole hour, we could do that. But I will handle the questions. I'll send you over like a little form to fill out beforehand. So super simple. It's just a one pager. And ultimately what's going to happen here is I just want you to be aware I will handle the questions, the recording, the editing, everything. You just need to make sure that once we're done, you just share it with your patients, and I'm going to share it with mine and my audiences. So I will give you the link. We will give you all the stuff to post. We'll take care of all the production. It is just very low friction, but very high leverage. Okay. Because remember, audience authority, awesome. Then they're also going to be wondering, well, what's the benefit here? So we're going to go ahead and send you the full video, right? Short social clips and one-page summary your office can use with patients, right? It's basically a chance to kind of highlight what you do and educate the community at the same time. And then ultimately, it's just like, I'm going to expose my audience to you. And then hopefully anybody who might need your services could become a patient, right? So we just want to be able to spotlight local physicians and local health practitioners inside of the community. So if you can make sure that you explain the audience, how to make it easy or the ease behind it, and then the benefit, they're going to be hooked, right? They're going to be hooked and they're going to be all in to be able to say yes to joining you on your Spotlight series. So now you're probably wondering, okay, well, this sounds great, but what's the flow? Okay. What's the flow of this thing? And ultimately, how do I set this up? So typically I like to set it up on Zoom. Super simple. I create a Zoom invite, a Zoom link, and I send it over to them in their office. And when the podcast starts, they will just log into the Zoom link, and then we'll be able to start just like I'm filming this video. Someone else will be on this other side. I'll be able to ask some questions. So what does the actual flow look like? Okay. So what the flow look like here is it's going to be a hook. Okay. We're going to hook the audience, make sure that they pay attention why they should watch. Then we're going to do an intro. Okay. We're going to ask about 4 to 10 questions, depending on what we have time for. And then ultimately we're going to do like a soft call to action, right? Because we want to make sure that they come on and we could kind of promote their stuff. Okay. So, this is where we want to make sure that we have some kind of structure here so we don't ramble and we don't get off track. So the hook here is, and honestly, before we kind of move on, you guys need to understand how videos work. So people are going to click on your video and we want to make sure we retain them until the end, right? So it's the initial click, and then we want to make sure we don't have drop off and retention. We want to make sure that we get people on and then they stay on, right? That's going to be the key here. So everything that we do is to make sure that we get people to retain all the way to the end of the video, because that's where the call to action is. So if you ever wondered whether your shoulder actually needs surgery or if PT is enough, this is the surgeon that I trust with my own shoulder and my own family, right? That's your call out, right? Because when we're looking at this thing, it's just like this here, guys, right? This guy right here, right? This is a shoulder surgeon. So if you have shoulder issues, we now have a shoulder surgeon on here who I trust. So the hook is always about making sure that the audience knows that this is for them. So if you ever wondered whether your shoulder actually needs surgery or if your PT is enough, right? This is the surgeon I trust with my own family. Again, that's your call to action, right? And the promise in a one line. So we want to hook these people in to why they should watch the video. Number 2 is going to be the intro. By the way, I want to make sure I always edify people, right? Give them all their authority, right? So today I'm with Dr. Smith, an orthopedic surgeon here in Warrenton, Virginia, who specializes in shoulders and knee replacements. So we're going to talk about when surgery actually makes sense, when PT is enough, and how to avoid getting cut open when you absolutely do not need it. Okay. So that is what we are going to cover inside of the introduction for these doctors, right, that are joining our Spotlight series. We want to make sure we are edifying them. They are the expert in insert conditions. Okay. Hey, Dr. Smith, pleasure to have you on. And then ultimately, I got a question, and we just go right into it. right? There's no pleasantries. Now, how are you? How's things going? Like, I have a question, right? Hook them in, intro them, first question, boom, right? Because once you're able to just go right into it, it keeps the person listening. So I'm curious here, you have all this experience. What kind of patients do you love helping the most, right? Let them answer. What mistakes do patients make before they see you? And let them answer, right? When is physical therapy usually enough, and when should someone see you sooner? What does a great PT partner do, right, that makes your life easy, right? I'm just asking questions, right? If you could put one message on a billboard for your patients, what would that be, right? I'm trying to extract information here, right? Because remember, the viewer needs to understand that, wow, this is value to me. I want them to be able to walk away like they learned something. So you're extracting their best thinking and subtly showing them that you care about collaboration, right? That's the key here. Your questions show them like, oh, this guy gets it. And then at the end of this thing, we're going to do a very soft call to action. Hey, so if you guys are in Warrenton, Virginia, and you're dealing with shoulder pain, I want you to talk with your physician about your options. And if you end up needing surgery, Dr. Smith or Dr. So-and-so is one of the people that we trust, right? So we're going to edify Dr. Smith, right? And if you're not sure where to start, conservative care like physical therapy is often step number one. That's what we do here at Insert Clinic Name. So they get positioned as the authority for what they want. You get positioned as the authority that you want to be, either prehab or post-hab, right? And you get associated as the trusted PT partner alongside of that doctor. There it is. Okay. So recapping here, you got a hook, intro, questions, call to action. Super simple. Okay. So now that your Spotlight series is complete, you'll get the download here and eventually you'll get a link. You'll then be able to take that link and you're going to be able to repurpose this thing like a media company. Because remember, just doing the podcast doesn't mean anything if nobody actually sees it. So now, once you go from actually doing the podcast, you then enter production, and then you'll be able to go into promotion. So from one interview, I want you guys to understand this. From one interview, you will be able to get a full YouTube video, okay? So you'll have a full anywhere between 30 minutes all the way up to 60 minutes. They call that a long form content. Now, most things like Riverside or Opus Clip or whoever you decide to use, they will be able to help you create 3 to 5 shorts or 3 to 8 reels, because they will actually go and they'll run their little algorithm on your video, and they will pull 3 to 8 of the best short clips that they think would be beneficial to post on your social media. You could then post 1 to 2, right? LinkedIn post. And you could tag the doctor, right? Because most doctors are on LinkedIn. You could then go ahead and tag the doctor. And then ultimately, you could email, right, 2 people, your list, their list, okay? So you're going to be able to email your list. Hey, this is a spotlight on Dr. So-and-so. When do you actually need surgery? ? Right? So click on this thing, right? So I could then also create like a 1-page PDF, right? With AI now, I could take the transcript. We could do a PDF summary with their face, and we could also do key takeaways, right? And then ultimately, then what we want to be able to do is drop that PDF at their office with a handwritten note. Hey, we love featuring you. Here's a summary your staff can use with patients. Send their staff the clips and links so that they can share, right? You just created like public goodwill, internal buy-in from their team. You've also created an excuse to follow up and say without ever saying, like, hey, just checking in, right? Remember me? We just did like a 6-hour podcast together. So again, just to recap, full YouTube video. You can create shorts for your Instagram, your TikTok, whatever, right? Tag, right, the doc on a LinkedIn post. You guys could take the transcript and do like get quotables that you could put on your, right? It's pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. And then email. You're going to email your list because you want your people to see you with XYZ doctor. And then you're going to email it to their list. So then their audience becomes your audience, right? This is the beauty of the Spotlight series. Because remember, going back to the 4 core pillars here is they get attention, they get authority, They get some new patients here, and you made it easy for them, right? It's low effort. It's low effort because you did all the work, which is easy, right? Awesome. Okay, so here's what I want you to do in the next week. So day number 1 is I want you to pick 3 providers you generally respect, and I want you to start building some deeper relationships with them. Day number 2 is I want you to do 10 minutes of research on each. So site, socials, ask staff for intel, and I want you to decide what angle you're going to have for your episode. And day number 3 is I want you to send your pitch emails, your DMs, your call offices to lock in 1 or 2 of these appointments here. Days number 4 and 5, record your first spotlight series, okay? And we want to follow that hook, intro, question, soft call to action structure. Super simple. And then day 6, once you get the full link, you're going to cut 3 to 5 clips. You'll run your email to your list, make a 1-page summary PDF to be able to send that off. And day number 7, well, we're going to publish, we're going to email, we're going to tag, and we're going to drop off that feature packet with the handwritten thank you. And you just did more to differentiate your clinic in 7 days than most do in 7 years of cookie drops. Okay? So that is how we're going to be able to leverage the Spotlight series. If you want the Spotlight series to be part of a full physician referral system, not just like a cool idea that you're never going to implement, I'm hosting a live physician referral workshop, and it's called How to Become Top of Mind with Physicians and Stay There. Okay? So inside, we're going to help you build out your provider 25. Okay. So this is where we're going to help you build out that practice 25. We're going to help you script your Spotlight series pitches, specifically the first 3 episodes. And then we're going to wire in the other pieces, right? Your Trojan horse, your MD follow-ups, your gatekeeper relations, your visibility systems. So referrals become more predictable, right? And we're going to turn that all into a weekly operating rhythm. So if you're a PT practice owner and you want physicians to be excited to work with you instead of hiding behind their desk, right? Click on the link in the description, pinned in the comments. You're going to see the dates. You're going to see the breakdown. You're going to be able to grab your seat because cookies get forgotten, but spotlights, that gets you remembered. So click the link and I'll see you on the inside of the workshop.